So is that what is needed at COP28? Do policymakers, do they need to do some serious thinking about how to incentivise these challenges, how to pay for it, how to finance it, and at the end of the day, how to execute and implement it?
Who will pay is always a big question. At the end of the day, it's all of us. And whether we're willing to pay or whether we are able to pay depends on a whole lot of other issues. In terms of flows of investment, there needs to be more investment flowing into the energy transition. What I've heard is we have $1 trillion a year flowing, but we need $4 trillion a year. That's a massive shortfall. But we also need to think about, we've got more investment flowing into generation capacity, but less investment flowing into the infrastructure needed to collect supply and demand.
We need to do both.
And because the timeframes are different, your return on investment of large-scale infrastructure is slower. It takes much longer to build, whereas your return on investment of modular generation can be a faster cycle.
So do institutional investors in particular, who appeared to be, I was having a conversation with Clifford Capital yesterday, and they were saying that, look, institutional investors seem to be a bit gun-shy in terms of investing over here in Asia because of the regulatory risk and governance, etc., especially in the frontier and the emerging end of the spectrum. What's going to change that paradigm?
Well, I think you see the maturing of regulatory frameworks. You see governments focusing on the enabling environment to attract public-private investment. We talk blended finance. We don't talk all private sector or all public sector. I think there's a slightly different issue of scale. What we need in energy transition is a leap of scale. We've got lots of local micro-generation. We've got lots of centralised big power stations. But what's in between, right? The infrastructure, the kits, the communities, the cities. And the same with finance. You can find public-private financing for large global mega projects. You can find microfinancing for local off-grids. It's that middle scale of investment, and how do governments set up an enabling environment, a regulatory framework that allows investment to flow to more community and regional level developments.
Do you think that we will get those answers at COP28, Angela, in terms of how to drive forward the transition, if the focus really needs to be on the grid, on infrastructure, on storage, how to incentivise it, the right balance of subsidies and government support at a time when inflation is such a challenge and is set to be an even bigger challenge because of the cost associated with building out the grid in this part of the world?
I mean, the climate change negotiations at COP28 have to cover a very broad agenda. It's climate change for everything. But I have to say, you know, I'm impressed by the president-elect and the agenda he's taking forward on energy. He's really trying to make sure that all parts of the energy system come to the table and do some heavy lifting. He's also focusing on new financing deals, and he's also focusing on inclusivity. Right? So he understands the issue of disorder, he understands the issue of the financing gaps, and he also understands that renewables, whether people like it or not, are going to need other clean energy and material friends to get to scale.